Let's start off with colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer, this is Colorectal Cancer Month. This is once again a disease process that disproportionately affects people of color. That's African American, Indians, Asians, Hispanics, more so than Caucasians with this disease process. But the rates are going up annually for each of those groups, including Caucasians. And we don't know why this is happening. We just know that the incidence is going up. Now, let me say from the very beginning, colon cancer is one of the easiest to diagnose cancers. It's also one of the easiest to treat cancers. And if diagnosed early, the cure rate is more than 90%. And that is highly unusual with virtually any cancer diagnosis. So we want to make sure that you are getting screened. Now, the current guidelines versus the previous guidelines. The previous guidelines, good evening, Audrey Sinead. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Coming all the way from Louisiana, Marco Perry. Hello. Glad to have you back, Marco. We appreciate you. And Antoinette Hunter Grayson, Georgia. Thank you, Antoinette. We appreciate you. I'm loving that sunroof, girl. Carolyn Brown from Detroit, Michigan. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us this evening. We appreciate that as well. Ernest Gibbs, my man, you got the greatest picture of all times, and I love hearing from you, Ernest. Thank you for being a regular. You tune in. I want you to share this information with everybody. Pam Miller, hello. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you as well. Billy Sue Combs, Billy Sue from Midlothian, Texas. Midlothian, Texas. We got north, south, east, west. Remember, we want to know where you're from. So California, New York, Florida. We got Corpus Christi in the house. Shanta Jackson, Pillichet. Thank you, Shanta. We appreciate you being here. Beverly Dunn from Forsyth, Georgia. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Boy, those are words I'm going to utilize. Janae Allen. Hi, Janae. Thank you so much for joining us this evening once again. Tanya Williams, hello from New Orleans, Louisiana. We got New Orleans in the house. Cynthia Beaumont Johnson from Moore, South Carolina. Beautiful picture there. Teresa Lamar, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So Michigan, Florida. What we got going on out west? Winnie King. Hello, Winnie. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. Now, colorectal cancer, once again, Bertha Point from Paul's Island, South Carolina. Paul's Island, South Carolina. That might be the first that we've had that. Tawanda Robinson Winfield, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Michelle Shelby, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Shelby. We appreciate you joining in, my friend. Jackie Daniels. Good afternoon, Dr. Carter from Tallahassee, Florida. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us from Tallahassee. We appreciate that. Okay, Sean, Big Time Green. Okay, Sean, we were wondering where you were. It's from Monroe, Louisiana, representing well, and we appreciate you being big time in the house. Andrew Presswood Jr. from Perry, Georgia. We got it. So I'm going to scroll through those, but I want to get back to our topic. Patrice Logan from Greenville, South Carolina, colorectal cancer. Traditionally, the colorectal cancer screenings were conducted at age 50. And then most recently, within the last few years, they decreased that number to age 45 for African Americans. And then most recently, within the last year, they have a thing called Project 2020, or Healthy People 2020. And they decided that everybody, black, white, orange, brown, green, should have their colonoscopies at age 45. Now, that's one caveat. The other caveat is if you have a family member that has been diagnosed with colon cancer, then you take 10 years from the age at which they were diagnosed backwards. And that is the age that everybody else in the family should be screened. So if they're 50 years old and they're screened and they're diagnosed with colorectal cancer, then everybody else in the family needs to be screened at 40. If they're 45, everybody needs to be screened at 35. I have had patients as young as in their 20s diagnosed with colorectal cancer. So it is very important that you have yourself tested. Now, and the primary test, of course, is a colonoscopy. They do have a test called the FIT test, which you do on a stool specimen. And there's a new test called the Cologuard. You may have seen it advertised on television, where you basically collect a specimen at home. You put it in a sample collecting bottle. You ship it back via UPS back to the lab, and they get back with you in the lab in the next couple of days to tell you what your test diagnosis is. And that is a test that looks for genetic samples from cancer cells. So it's very specific, it's very selective. The thing about either of those tests, other than the colonoscopy, is if there's something wrong, you still have to have a colonoscopy. But if for whatever reason you can't get a colonoscopy, don't want to take the time off of work, can't do the prep, which is basically at no less than a half day, usually a whole day of colon cleansing diarrhea, then it's very important that you try or have one of those tests performed. And again, if either of those tests is positive, then you are required at that point to have a diagnostic colonoscopy to determine what your disease state is. Now, when I order the test, when Dr. Kaya orders a test, and when that test is ordered by most physicians, it's ordered as a screening colonoscopy. That is the test that during Affordable Care Act under President Obama, they determined that there were 13 things that should be covered by every insurance company that exists. Colonoscopy being one of them. Other examples are PSA, prostate specific antigen test for men, mammograms for women. But there are 13 things that should be provided to you at absolutely no cost. That is the screening colonoscopy. Screening colonoscopy. So when you are having this test ordered by your primary care physician, your family physician, your internist, make sure that they asked for a screening colonoscopy, because a screening colonoscopy is provided to you at absolutely no cost. Now, you're going to take a screening before you go. They're going to ask you about certain things, such as have you had rectal bleeding? Are you having problems with changing the color or character of your stool? And who has not had rectal bleeding on occasion? Who has not had blood on the paper when you wipe yourself on occasion? But if you answer that question in the affirmative, then they're going to convert you magically to a diagnostic colonoscopy. And a diagnostic colonoscopy comes with a price tag. And so one thing I learned at a recent meeting of the Atlanta Medical Association as well, that some freestanding facilities will charge you a facility fee, even if your test is covered by the insurance. So you have to make sure that you're not getting any surprise billing, that you go get the test, and you ask for a screening colonoscopy, and that test should be provided at absolutely no cost.